So today we're chatting to Mary Boland, manager of Theatre Royal, and she's been involved in the arts for the past 27 years. Would I be right in saying that?
Good.
Yeah. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, yeah, I suppose as a school-going kid, I was lucky enough to volunteer for Red Kettle. So it's a very long time ago. And I suppose what came out of that then was that I began working with them later on in life. I studied theatre studies in the Samuel Beckett Centre in Trinity, which is what it was called way back then. I then did a series of other training programs. One was a community arts training program with Macnas in Galway for a year. And when I came back from Galway then, I began, I suppose, actively working with Red Kettle, particularly around, well, in many kind of guises, but we then fell into what then became Little Red Kettle, which was the children's wing of the company. So with Red Kettle, I performed, I stage managed, I eventually became executive manager of Red Kettle for a period of time. But I also helped to develop the Little Red Kettle company with Ben and Liam Marr. And I suppose it got to a stage in my life then after many, many years of that work and working with many great people. And I was very, very lucky to have worked with very many good people who were highly experienced nationally and internationally. So I got a really good training from them over many years. I was very lucky, and I think part of our problem in Waterford at the moment is that there's not enough people being mentored and trained under really strong, experienced people. So that's certainly part of my briefing here at the moment, is to rectify that. So that's one of the areas that we're working on, which I'll get to, I suppose. So then, got married, had a child. My father died suddenly, so I said, let's just stop for a minute. So I did for a few years. And then I was asked to fill in some time in here in the Theatre Royal. So I came in on a 3-month contract, and that was 11 and a half years ago. And I'm still here, and I am still here because there has been a lot of development for this building in I suppose the last 10 and 12 years, and where we 4 or 5 years ago got to a stage where there was a business strategy put in place. We're now at the end of that strategy and about to kick off a new strategy, so there's further opportunity for expansion and development. So that's why I'm still here, I suppose, because it is, and there are very obvious new tracks and areas of development that are happening, which keeps me interested, so it keeps me here.
It's really great for Waterford too.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What's your favourite Waterford slang or phrase?
I live with a writer who's Waterford out and out, so there's some I couldn't mention on film. There are many. Oh golly. I mean, well boy is, and you travel the world and you meet somebody and you say well, and they look at you and wonder, what? Well, what? So I love that one because it catches many people off guard. And then I love when I lived in Galway, sitting at a bar counter and someone would say to you, where are you from? And you'd say Waterford, and they go, oh well,
brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really, I suppose, for me the really big one, because it's as sociable as it is, and it's a nice greeting.
Quite a warm attachment actually to Waterford, really.
Yeah.
That word.
Yeah. And then the boy that comes into it, and so that, I suppose, is one of my favourites.
Okay.
Yeah.
On your time off, when you have some downtime, what would be your favourite place to go to in Waterford to relax?
Sabai restaurant across the road.
Oh, right. Really?
Yeah. So I know Catherine, who owns it, and a whole bunch of us girlfriends know each other, and so it's just one of those places where you're instantly comfortable, and and it's got plenty of food.
Okay.
Which, if I have to go somewhere, I need to make sure there's food there.
What would be your favourite type of food?
I suppose Spanish or Thai or something that's spicy. However, I'm from Dunmore East, and my sister has a restaurant that deals in fresh seafood, so prawns, crab, that list is endless. So it's a really kind of mishmash.
Lovely. Which talent would you most like to have?
I suppose when you have children, sometimes things arise and you go, oh, I can't do that. I suppose there's,
Can relate to that.
and most recently, Halloween costumes, and you're going, oh no. And I have dear friends who are so creative and artistic in, in terms of what they can create out of nothing. And I've always had, I suppose, that and I have always been at odds with each other.
Right.
My training with Macnas back in 1993, I fell into the workshop side of things, which is all about creating those extraordinary floats that Macnas have always built. And what I learned from that was that I was really, really good at applying ways of doing things once I was taught them.
Right.
But I had to be taught them.
Okay.
I couldn't suggest because I just simply found I didn't have that in me. And so, when your child asks to be a dead unicorn for Halloween, or for Halloween, and you're going, oh, Jesus, where do I go with that?
Dead unicorn.
Yeah.
What a young child.
She's 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Dark.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then I say to my girlfriend, oh, geez, what am I going to do with a dead unicorn? And she immediately said, make a horn and break it in half, and the blood's bursting out.
No rainbows on that one.
Thought of that. No. I wasn't going to apply some glitter somewhere then.
No.
But she thought of that, and I said, why didn't I think of it?
Type of creativity.
There's a type of creativity.
You would be a creative person.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But there's a type of I watch people do things, and I'm in awe of what they can do, and I think, I'd like to
designer minds or something.
Yeah.
Very good. What do you most value in your friends?
I suppose where loyalty comes to mind, which is very important, and there are different types of loyalty I've learned over the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Oh, materialistic loyalty, if that's a thing. I don't know if it is, but I suppose somebody who just truly accepts you for every little thing in which you are. When you hit a really tough time and you might be portraying yourself as something different, that they don't judge, but they might question, ask why and how are you, as opposed to, so complete acceptance, I suppose, of who you are. And particularly when you have friends for 35 years, we are essentially the same person, but
we evolve as well. Life changes
us. Exactly. And changes us at different rates and accelerations, and so accepting that all the way through is really key and interesting.
What's your favourite play or show?
Ooh.
Do you have one?
There's been things I've seen over the years that have stayed in my mind for sure. Now, I can't admit to having seen a huge amount, and there's things that I should have seen that I know were brilliant and I know would be my favourite things. I just never got to see them. But there are certain playwrights, I suppose, Brian Friel, Tom Murphy, 2 playwrights that are just extraordinary in terms of the creation of a piece of theatre. And for some of their plays, no matter how badly they're staged, they will still blow your mind. I suppose Translations is a really good example of such a brilliantly structured play. It really is a treat. And then over the years, actually one of my favourites is a play called Moonshine, which Jim Nolan wrote and Red Kettle staged back in, the early 90s, and the theatricality of that was really a treat. And then actually most recently I've just come back from Barbaro, which is the Children's Arts Festival in Galway, and I saw 2 particular pieces there that we rarely see in Waterford, unfortunately. A dance piece that not only blew my 8-year-old's mind, but mine as well, and it was just truly sweet and beautiful. And as she said, they told a story through dance. I didn't know that was even possible.
I was going to ask you the theme of it actually.
Yeah, so it was a dancer portraying a little girl and her parents and how they had no time for her, and then how the piece evolved, and it became enormously creative and beautiful, and there was a certain amount of audience participation where they came out around the audience, so that's always a treat, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we saw a second piece, which was Baba Yaga, which is a very famous Russian folklore tale, apparently, character. And a Scottish company had created a play around that. And that was really kind of 21st century stuff. They had all kinds of projections hitting all kinds of different shapes on stage at the same time. There was colour, there was song, there was movement, there was so much to it. And again, a great piece of theatre. So. Yeah, and the point of it is Rough Magic had produced a play called Hecuba, which is a famous Greek mythology character. Anyway, it was staged at Dublin Theatre Festival 3 weeks ago, and I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing it, and I'm going, I should get up there, and I didn't get up there. So there's things that are happening that I just need to make more effort.
Yeah, have the time at least.
Yeah.
What's your greatest fear?
I suppose, you go through life and things happen and you learn from it, and parents passing away is really one of the awfulest things that could happen. But as you grow, that happens, and then as a parent, stupid things can come into your head, don't they, whereby you imagine the worst possible scenario.
Anxiety.
So I don't think I need to say any more around that. But when you lose somebody close to you, and then your stupid head thinks stupidly about what potentially could happen, or either for them or to them or whatever. So I suppose, without saying any more, it's really.
I think that's fairly relatable.
Yeah. So that really would.
Okay. Yeah. What do you consider your greatest achievements?
When you think you're still 20 and you suddenly realise, well, actually you're not, and you have a mortgage and run a family and a home, as well as having a full-time job, you kind of think, Jesus, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Particularly when you think you're still 20. There's all of that, but then I suppose in terms of our career, one of our favourite stories is the year we brought 20 Waterford children to Japan for an international children's theatre festival.
Wow.
And when it was brought to my attention, over a number of months ran with it and found funding and liaised with parents, and whilst the artists, the creators, the directors were getting on with creating the piece, I production managed the piece of theatre, but at the same time I also coordinated the thing and the trip and got them there. And
quite a lot of responsibility.
and got them home.
Yeah.
And I could spend a day talking about it because it was really quite an event. And I look back on that and I think, that was one of the highlights certainly of the last 30 years, and
something special.
It really was. It really, really was. And I don't know if I could do it now at this stage of my life. But certainly we were, there was a bunch of us involved, and I was 30, the height of it. It really was one of those 10 days over the other side of the world with 20 children belonging to other people.
That pulled it off.
So we did. It was really great fun. Yeah.
Actually, I was just going to ask you some of your favourite moments of Imagine Arts Festival over the past years.
Yeah. So, it's such a great festival. Oh, I'm trying to remember the writer. When my son, who's now 15, was about 5, I brought him to Lenihan, the writer, and he writes nonsense. Eddie Lenihan is his name.
It's familiar.
It is familiar, and if you would immediately recognise his work. He's very famous, particularly in America. He's American, and nonsense verse is what he's all about, and songs, and I brought Charlie to that when Charlie was about 5, and he, actually there was a photograph taken of us for one of the papers, which I have in my wallet still. And the photograph is of Charlie like this. And so completely engaged in this. And that's what I've always loved about Imagine Arts Festival. It has evolved over the years so much, but in those days it kind of brought in all kinds of elements and included some work for children, which hopefully it'll get back to that, because I think it was easy for me to really engage with that, particularly with young children, because I could for me and I could for them at the same time. And I think actually last year, Youth Dance Celebration was here, and my mother wanted to go, and she brought my little girl, and I said, oh, well, I'll be here in the building, I'll hang out in the control room. And I did. However, so I'd seen it 8 years ago, so I wasn't really interested in it. You know, my child's not on stage, kind of vibe. Anyway, I was in the control room for the start of it, and I ended up sitting on a high stool for all of it.
Wow.
And the standard of work that each and every dance company presented was truly extraordinary. And there was something like 32 of them throughout the afternoon, throughout the evening. So yeah, I'd seen it 8 or 10 years ago or whatever. And then I saw it last year. And the wealth of talent by those on stage, but the choreographers, the people who had worked with these young people, children and teenagers, to get them to that standard is really, really impressive. And to know that that's going on, and it's all bubbling out there in Waterford all day, every day, and we're really not aware of it.
Everyone should know about it.
Everyone should know about it, for sure. Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Most famous person you've ever met?
Mary Robinson.
Mary Robinson.
Met her in Galway in '93, actually.
Okay.
And she came to, she was there for Galway Arts Festival, and we were all beavering away in Machna's workshop, and she came to see the work. And I mean, she was from my generation. So when I was coming to the end of college in Dublin, the election was going on, president, and really for us and the house that we lived in, it was all about her. There was just nobody else in the world. And I learned about her through the friends I was living with, who would really have been aware of her because of her work for women's rights particularly. And so I got to know about her during that time. So then when I got to meet her in Galway, and of course then you do, and then you don't know what to say and you make a fool of yourself. but that was
memorable.
really, really, really memorable. Yeah, for sure.
3 people you'd like to dine with, dead or alive?
Tom Waits. Yeah, I had dinner with Tom Waits. I would say Leonard Cohen, but I don't know if I put them both at a table together. It'd be interesting. But and oh geez, oh golly.
Any females in there?
yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. Mary Robinson, actually.
Mary
Yeah, I would like to have dinner with her. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And why Tom Waits and
Leonard
Cohen?
Yeah. Yeah. For the obvious reason.
Well,
yes. Yeah.
Well,
I suppose, yeah. So Tom Waits, growing up with his music, and what always interested me about him was that his music was so different at so many different times. I saw this great thing at Dublin Theatre Festival years ago. He created an opera with a Polish company. The piece was called Wojciech, and we went and we saw it. And not only did we see the piece, but the seats we were in the Gaiety were bad seats, as there are in theatre venues. But we could see down into the pit, so we could see instruments that I had never seen before in my life, and I wanted to know what the hell is that? And so the sounds that he created out of these instruments were really so I'd have an interest in all of that. But I also think the way in which he talks about his wife Kathleen, the relationship there. His son was on stage with him when we saw him in Dublin in Phoenix Park about 10 years ago. So yeah, no, I just think that he would be interesting. Leonard Cohen, I saw his the documentary recently about his relationship with Marianne particularly, and yeah, that life.
I might have a few questions for them both.
Yeah.
Cool. If you were to die and come back as an animal, what would you be?
I reckon I'd be a butterfly.
Oh.
Or a giraffe. Only I'm too short to be a giraffe. Yeah, I'd be very laid back. Perhaps a sloth. Perhaps I'd like to be a sloth.
You're going to have to find the stage.
Yeah, just laid back going, yeah, get on with it, lads, get on with it. Yeah.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, wouldn't
To
it?
be able to be a bit more laid back.
Yeah.
Will we go with sloths then?
Sloth, yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Okay, interesting. It would pick sloth, probably.
Yeah.
Best advice you've ever been given? And by who?
Listen.
Listen.
Yeah. You gotta listen. Yeah. And when your head might be running away with itself, just stop and listen. And I can't remember who told me that. And it's certainly something I've learned, and it has been extremely beneficial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last one, favourite place you've ever travelled to?
Rio de Janeiro, for all the obvious reasons. It's vibe, it's beauty. However, I don't need to ever go back there. I am a real lover of Spain.
Okay.
Because it's real downtime, anytime I go there.
Siestas, laid back.
Yeah, food.
Spanish food.
Japan was different. Byron Bay in Australia. I think everyone should go there once. It's just cool out. It really is. And the standard of living in terms of hanging out, I suppose. Jeez, I really do want to be a sloth, don't I?
Chilling on the beach somewhere.
Absolutely.
Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Slow place, somewhere where there's no roads.
Yeah, indeed.
Or Wi-Fi.
No hills. Yeah, no, that's a great place. That's it. That is a great place. I haven't travelled as much as I have. And in fact, I talk to my kids about, when you're 19 now, you'll be going to, and they look at me and go, well, you're coming to. And I go, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, you are. Off you go. So, yeah, I'll push them to just go and see places, and because I haven't done it enough. I really haven't.
Yeah.
And if I did have my time all over again, I would do that. I would get on a train or get on a bus or a plane or whatever and see more. We spend a lot of time in Dingle and in Ventry, and I suppose we forget to. Ventry is County Dingle, as I call it. So drive through Dingle and keep going out the Schlehead Drive essentially, and it's out there, and it's at the edge essentially. And it is beautiful. But then I come from Dunmore East, and we often compare it. We'd often compare it to Byron Bay in Australia. And when you come from Dunmore East, places are different, but then you come back there and it's just stunning. It really, really is. So, anywhere we go, it's always about the beauty, relaxing. Yeah, it must always be like that.
Yeah.
And food.
Yeah. Great. Listen, that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Mary.
Cheers.